Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the Revenue Optimists. We're a space where revenue operations and go-to-market leaders and teams come together to learn from one another. No sales pitches, just RevOps about RevOps for RevOps. My name is David Nelson, and today I'm very fortunate to be joined by Chris Hudson, who's the Director of Revenue Operations at Cresta. Chris, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to our conversation today.
Likewise, absolutely. So, Chris, maybe just give us a little bit of a background on yourself and maybe some about Cresta and what Cresta does.
Yeah. So I was born in the Bay Area. No, I'm not going back that far. Started my career a little while ago from SDR all the way up to having my own startup, but really found my home in revenue operations, which I've been doing for about a decade now, and am now at Cresta, which is an AI conversational intelligence and agent assist, as well as agentic AI agent company, which is all the rage these days, as you know. And yeah, lots of cool things we get to do.
When you're introducing a new technology, what do you recommend in terms of rolling it out, implementing it, getting people to adopt it? How is that? What's that kind of best practice that you've found for teams that people might learn from?
Yeah, I would say that there's two general ways that technology becomes a priority for business systems, and that's you have that sort of PLG approach where people are just using it on their own, and then like bring it up to you, and or they'll gate them to say, hey, you need to purchase it. But the traditional approach is you identify a needs in the business, and then you go and understand like why is it not being met with our current systems today, what is the gap, what is the business case to be able to get it. And then really once we do our due diligence, we meet with the vendors, we establish that contact with them, we get the demos, we understand truly like what is the business, does it check off all the boxes that we need, and then you go and look at actually selecting your vendor of choice and then implementing with them. And I would say the way that I like to implement technology is really like a crawl, walk, run approach, where you sort of build that foundation of what does the V1 look like, and you build that V1, and then you get that feedback first with a core test group to get the UAT done. Then you iterate, you update based off that feedback and improve the technology. And then there could be a second UAT if there was major bugs. But then you go and you look at launching and enabling your entire sales organization or whoever your users are, and then getting their feedback as well as are there bugs, are there features. And then I like to typically look at on a recurring basis, is there additional improvements? Have they made additional technology changes, and or is there business requirements that have changed that, maybe we implemented something 2 years ago and we're not getting any value out of it because we changed our business. Can we just rip this out and get rid of the tech debt?
Nice. It's always good to start off small. I think adoption is another big one that we always work on is how do you, when you know that it has such a big impact, but it is work, it's more work for reps or teams or whomever. How do you get them to actually adopt that to get to the greater good eventually? And we've found it's just a ton of re pitching it, re explaining it, emphasizing the importance, making sure people are doing it, that it just, as much as you think, oh, I can say it once or twice, that you have to just tell them, tell them, tell them.
I think it does usually come top down, right? Like the leadership has to be bought in, and they have to manage to it, right? If something's not happening and they need to do it. But if it is certain things, like we mentioned previously about like logging calls or logging emails, can AI support that automation, right? Like, we have our sales reps go and sell, or SDRs go and build that pipeline, and not have to work on or focus on any admin work, which I think is the future state. You just free up their time for any menial tasks that they have to do.
So true. I mean, today versus even a few years ago, it's so much easier. All of the admin tasks getting taken away, all the note taking, all the filling in from those notes into fields and stuff. So you have probably gone through this several times, but when you're trying to make a decision on buying new software or building it internally, how do you kind of go through that decision-making process, and or how are you pitching it up the chain? Because you might have different opinions and some people lean towards build and others buy. What's your approach there?
Yeah, I don't think that there is a general rule of thumb that I would be able to recommend. I think it's typically case by case businesses or use cases that you have, like CPQ, right? Like I don't think that you should ever build a CPQ. There's so many vendors now, but at the same time, there's certain things where it's just like, hey, this is a click of a button, and it might be an existing tool that your vendor has that maybe is just like, maybe an add-on feature that you just need to implement, and it's like, we already have it, like might as well turn it on if it's low level. I do love to tinker though, which is sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. But yeah, I would say in terms of like build versus buy, it depends on what the specific scenario is and also the level of effort that it takes to be able to implement.
Yeah, I believe it. Probably what the skill set is of the team and the bandwidth, probably, and where's the cost benefit, their opportunity cost from building and working on other tools and other systems and stuff, I'm sure. So
Or
when you're going, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, sorry, or continued maintenance. I mean, that's the thing that people sometimes don't think of. It's like, hey, you buy a tool, we'll build it ourselves, and it's just like you continually have to update that software.
Totally. There's the V1 and everyone thinks they're done after that, but the reps, the teams want the V2, V3, V4, and that just means more and more work. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Testing, iteration. What have you found has been the most successful for pitching for budget, either direction? So pitching for budget to buy versus pitching for bandwidth or budget for team members in order to have the bandwidth to go buy.
Yeah. I would say in every conversation that I typically have, it is a business like needs, right? Like what is the business case that we are building specifically to solve for this issue, and is there an ROI, right? Like if the pain is $100,000 a year, would it take $10,000 to build and you get a 10x return? Like might as well do something like that, right? And that's inclusive of all software costs as well as even personnel time costs, right? But I would say that specifically looking at trying to be able to implement something, like you really need to do that analysis ahead of time to be able to justify, like, hey, am I getting a good return on my time or my dollars spent from the business?